Get ready to redefine your approach to sales, business, and personal success. Today's guest, Vikram Deol, is not just a real estate coach. He's a game changer. With over 250 million in real estate sales under his belt and countless agents transformed through his TRIS method, Vikram is on a mission to help you double your deals without buying leads. But his story doesn't stop there. From overcoming personal struggles to working with legends, Vikram's journey is a testament to resilience, reinvention, and relentless growth. If you've ever felt stuck, frustrated, or tried to take your business to the next level, stick around. Vikram is here to share how trust, rapport, and influence can unlock your full potential, not just in sales, but in life. Vikram, your story is incredible. Like, you're from hustling from a very young age. You go to like a top real estate coach. Let's rewind to the beginning. What inspired you to get into sales, and how did those early experiences shape your work today?
So if you want to rewind all the way, and thank you for the opportunity to share. I got into sales because my dad said to me that he wouldn't buy me a Sega Genesis when I was in 4th grade. So all the cool kids had Sega Genesis. I wanted to be a cool kid. And I'm like, Pops, I don't know, like $200. I'm like, you spend more money on, milk and eggs every day than you do on the Sega Genesis. But he's like, no, I'm not buying one. And a couple weeks later, the Jogathon came out. And I was like, well, guess what the top prize was? Sega Genesis. I was like,
No way.
dude, no kidding. 4th grade, Mrs. Yanamitsu's were yellow jackets, yellow shirts, little B on it, Yanamitsu yellow jackets on the back, Stockdale Elementary School. And I was like, okay, so you had to sell something, right? I was in 4th grade, so this is like 1989 or something, right? Like couple years ago. And I said, okay, how much does it take to do this? And it was something like $5,000 you had to raise. And then the prize was a $200 or $400 Sega Genesis, whatever it was, right? A bunch of other stuff I think you won along the way, but the top prize with the points was the Sega Genesis. And so I just reverse engineered it. I didn't know that I reverse engineered it, but I just said, okay, I'm gonna go collect as much money as I can. And you could sell, what did you sell? Candy bars, I think? So we sell candy bars, and then you can get sponsored per lap, or people just give you a donation. I don't remember. And so I remember going to a couple houses of our neighbors, and they're like, oh, Vic, it's so great that you're trying to raise money. We'll give you a little bit. And I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm gonna make this kind of money. Like, there's all these kids hitting up their neighbors, right? We're all hitting up the same neighbors. We all live in the same neighborhood. We go to the same school. I'm like, so I can't go to any of my friends' parents because they're probably not gonna give me a ton of money because they're gonna give their kid the money. And I can't just go to my neighbors and hit them with the same pitch. And so I said to them, our school is raising money for our school it wasn't a lie, but our school's raising money for our new computer lab to buy new computers for the students. And I shared a goal with these people. And my goal is to help raise as much money as possible. So I shared something with the person so that they could get bought in. Instead of like, hey, my kid's selling candy, do you want to buy some? It's like, I don't really need 400 bars of chocolate, right?
Right.
And so because I tied them into a goal, I didn't know what I was doing. I just want a Sega Genesis, bro. And so you could sponsor like a flat out fee, or you could sponsor like a per lap run fee, right? So some people said, I'll give you a quarter per lap, 50 cents per lap, a nickel, a dime per lap, right? And they thought, this kid's gonna run like one lap, we're gonna pay him $1, it's gonna be fine. I collected all the money. I saw everything that I needed to do. And I needed to run like 8 laps, dude. I had my dad hustling for me in his office. I had my mom hustling for me at the bank, right? Oh, my son's trying to raise money to help. I taught them to pitch. So I had other people outsourcing my work. And I was like, all right, so this is pretty cool. I raised, $2,000 or $3,000, but the bulk of my funds were based off of effort. It's a commission. So here's the commission. If you do the effort, you get the reward. So I looked up the funding necessary was like 6 laps. It was like 1.5 miles, or it was 8 laps. It's something ridiculous, dude. I'm like 17 pounds, soaking wet, 4th grader, nerdy, glasses, braces. like not an athletic bone in my body. But I was like, okay, I now know what I need to do. And there's a time limit. So if you don't make the time, you don't get the prize. So I just reverse engineered it at a young age, and I didn't sell anybody anything. I had them buy in on my goal that I was trying to accomplish, right? It was just like, I have a goal. I didn't tell them about the Sega Genesis because that was my personal goal. They didn't care about that. Like, no, kid, you don't need a Sega. You need to be outside playing, right? It's 1989. Like, nobody needs to be at home with video games. And that's how we ended up, that's how I ended up winning. And I didn't just win, but I ended up, because I miscalculated my numbers. I'm like a shitty Indian person that doesn't know how to do math.
I was just about to say, did you get disowned by...
So I misdid my numbers, or I don't know, something happened, but I ended up miscalculating a little bit, and I set the record for the school, and we raised like $7,000 or something, $5,000. I don't remember the number, like $4,000 or $5,000. It was an insane amount of money for it, and I got a Sega Genesis out of it. So like my first, like that was like my first stench at like, okay, there's a way to communicate with people. I didn't know it was selling, but I just learned that there's a way to communicate with people, that if you share something that they might like, they'll help you get to what you would like. And as long as you don't talk about yourself, cool things happen.
Very powerful. I love the connection, like when you were young, when you started this journey, it was to get a goal. But if you, like you said, if you go to your parents and say, hey, I want a Sega Genesis, to be like, no way. But if you said, hey, can you help me be the guy that raises the most money, any proud Middle Eastern parent would be like, of course. Let's go help. And then you got what you wanted. And very powerful. I love that. How did you go from there to sales and then to coaching?
Yeah, man. So life has been in sales, right? My parents had restaurants. I loved upselling because I was like McDonald's. So it's like, would you like fries with that? So we were like, do you want potato wedges? Do you want a pitcher of beer? Do you want to add a couple of ranches? Do you want to add another pizza? Do you want to try our chicken? We have the best mozzarella sticks in town. Have you ever tried them? No. Oh my God. You might want to try them out. Like, they're delicious, right? And people are like, oh yeah, how much are they? $7. Sure, add it in, right? So I just started learning like how to add on things to the order. You want somebody to buy dessert, you sell the dessert at the point of sale, not after the sale is over. So it's like, hey, do you want to go ahead and add some dessert? Do you want to go ahead and add some dessert to the menu, to your order now? They're like, well, we're thinking about it. Yeah, you could think about it, but it's probably just easier. That way you don't have to come up. There might be a line. We'll just bring it out to you when you're done with your pizza. And they're like, oh, sure, honey. And because people don't buy dessert after they've eaten, they buy dessert when they're hungry.
Yeah.
And so, like, just little things that I kind of picked up along the way. But again, my dad said, I'm not going to give you a quarter raise when I was 17. I just graduated from high school, and my brother got a letter from Vector Marketing, which is Cutco. And so my brother tore up the letter because he didn't want me to see it, but he was the one that got it, not me, for whatever reason, right? My parents lived in like the rich part of town, so they were trying to get the rich kids to come and sell knives, right? Because they're expensive knives. And so somehow I saw the letter. I heard my brother book an appointment. This is back in the day when you have like phones at home. My dad had this phone system in the house where I could go to the phone. I saw that he made it in my parents' bedroom. So he ripped up the letter, ha 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 ha, you're not gonna get it, right? And I'm like, what a jerk, right? Like, you're a fucking dick. And I went to the phone and I pressed redial. And it happened to call those people. So I'm like, hey, this is Vikram. I'm Randeep's brother. I'd love to have a job with you guys too. I'm really like motivated and blah, blah, blah. Is it possible for me to come in? Like, can I come for an interview too? Like, I didn't use like cool words back then. I'm like, I want an interview, right? And they're like, oh yeah, we just talked to your brother 5 minutes ago. Like, absolutely. Like, why don't you guys come together? My brother was pissed, but my mom drops us off. And we go and they hire everybody, right? Like anybody with the pulse, especially that came off those letters, they hire. I remember my manager, he drove a Honda Prelude. He had a super hot girlfriend. He wore this dope ass suit, like 17 sizes too big. But back in the day, that was the shit. And I'm like, this dude's cool, man. Like, good looking girl. They ended up getting married, have a bunch of kids now. Right? Honda Prelude, the VTEC, and I'm like, that's my lifestyle. I want to have that too, right? And he told me what we have to do. He's like, we're going to sell knives. I'm like, okay, cool. My mom cooks. She's rich. She can buy knives. Her friends are rich. They could buy knives. Knives are awesome. Like, they showed us the knives. They cut pennies. They cut leather. They cut rope. The other knives that they had looked like my mom's knives in the kitchen. I like to barbecue. My mom's knives always suck. I'm like, cool. We should get some new knives. This sounds awesome. This shit looks cool. I think I could hustle it. Why not? So we all get hired. And my manager, we had a 3-day training, right? So Mike Meditz, who my manager was, we had a 3-day training. And during the training, like, you go through every step of the process. How do you talk about the company? How do you share your goals? How do you get people to open up? How do you book an appointment on the phone? How do you get referrals? How do you drop down from a $760 set of knives all the way down to a $39 trimmer? And you're going through like 7 sets. You're going through small sets. You're going through a tri-pack. You're building different things for them, right? Hey, I know you said that you like, out of these 10 knives, which ones do you like the most? This one, and this one. Okay. Well, if we just did those 3, I could still give you this for free. Like, we weren't salespeople. Like, we weren't phenomenal salespeople back then. Like, we used a lot of discounting, and we used a lot of like things to get the prospect to take action. Now, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. And I followed the process that my manager laid out. Like, now I put in the work, I put in the hustle, but I memorized the whole script in 3 days. He told me to book a bunch of appointments with my parents' friends. I booked 45 appointments. And in the first 10 days, I did $7,000 in sales. And I'm like, holy shit, I just made more money in 10 days than I made in the last 3 months. And my dad wouldn't give me a quarter raise. So I was like, hey, Pops, I quit. And he's like, oh, what are you going to do? Sell these knives forever? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to sell them enough that like I could probably work half and make 3 times as much than with you guys, and I won't smell like, raw onions and pepperoni all day long, and I'll stop burning I still got a burn on my arm from the oven, and I won't keep burning myself, so I think it's a win. I'm like, and I get to go dress up and talk to people, and like, it's pretty cool. So I sold a bunch of knives, and I did that for a couple years, but my following summer is when I became a manager at 18, and that's where I got to recruit, hire, train, and I trained 47 people. But I felt like I changed the lives of at least 15 of them. Because I showed them, like, we had this one girl, Liana. She was like 28 years old, like loner, depressed, very insecure. And she got to come into our world, and she didn't sell shit. Like, she sold like $500 or $1,000 of knives the whole summer, right? But she, at the end of the summer, she's like, I just feel so much more confident about who I am. I was 18.
Wow.
She's like, just being in this atmosphere, this environment, this high energy, like learning that there's a different way, I just feel like a better, more confident person. And like a couple years after that, I got not letters, but I think it's when Facebook came out. A couple people found me on Facebook. They're like, yo, Vic, so cool to see you on here. Hey, we never really got to tell you, but that summer was one of the coolest summers. Like, it gives me goosebumps. Like, you changed my life. Like, I was so unconfident. I was so scared to talk to people. Like, my parents were scared I was gonna like be a drug dealer or like be broke and live with them their whole lives. And like, because of that summer, we had so much more confidence, and it was super cool. And I ended up like staying as a assistant manager with Cutco for years. I moved to a bunch of different cities, got to sell knives. But I always enjoyed the fact that if you know how to sell, which is how to communicate, how to share, how to influence, it's really just following a process. But if you can do that, even when economies are tight, you always have a job. Even if real estate's only got 40% of transactions available, somebody still takes that 40%. Yeah. And I assume they're going to go to the best people. When the markets get tighter, people become more like, they look at what they're doing more, right? They interview better, they ask more questions, they talk to more people, they look you up online more. So I just kind of was like, all right, this just makes sense. I've always had entrepreneurship in my blood, so I've always trained people in my own businesses. So it wasn't like something that was out of the realm for me. I started at 18, I had businesses, we had employees, we had to train the employees, and I always trained them on sales, right? Like Hermosi talks about it, and he's got more money than me, so people listen to him more, and he's built a bigger process. But the first thing I always looked at was, what do you guys say on the phone? Because that's what I was taught. What do you say on the phone? So when we took over businesses, or when I opened up a business, the first thing I knew was like, if I can get people in front of my salespeople, even if they're garbage, they have a chance. So let's figure out what to say on the phone before we say anything else. And then once they're in front of us, right? We had cell phone stores. I had like 2 or 3 cell phone stores at one point. And if I can get them in front of us, okay, they're gonna buy the phone regardless. Right? Like if they want Verizon, they're buying Verizon. Now it's a matter of like putting them into the right plan and the right phone, but they're going to buy Verizon, not because I'm so great. It's because they came in ready to buy. But if I can tack on like the chargers, the car chargers, what else? The cases, right? Like, dude, these things are $1 items from China, 50-cent items from China, but we sell them for $9, $10, $15, $20. We sometimes made more money on the accessories than we did on the phones and the phone plans.
Yeah.
And so it was always the training. And then I got into real estate. We did $250 million in 4.5, 5 years. And things were good. And I went to a Tony Robbins event. I was a super high D for dick. Like I was super like douchey and very self-centered.
Him or?
Me.
You were.
And so I went to a Tony Robbins event and I was just like, this stuff resonates. And I was like, I don't want to be in real estate sales anymore. I thought I was going to do more like mindset work with people, but that's sales is mindset. And after a couple of years, a couple other businesses, I left real estate in 2018, did a couple things with my dad, did a couple of this, a little bit of that, did some mindset coaching. And my good buddy Sharon Shrivata, who's the CEO, president of Real Brokers, a couple of years ago, he's like, bro, you love teaching people sales. You're really good at teaching people. You're passionate about it. You don't fucking shut up. Why don't you just teach people how to sell real estate? He's like, you've been using a lot of my playbooks, right? Because I've known him for so long, so I got to implement a lot of the things he's done. He's like, you've been through like 1,000 different trainings, like NLP and this and that. Why don't you teach agents what to say and just build a program that you like?
Amazing.
I don't want to talk.
It's a great story, and you definitely answered so many points that I wanted to ask you. And like you've shared how you were labeled like most likely to fail.
Oh yeah.
And now I understand why, because you said you probably miscalculated
I sold weed in high school. I left that out, and I never got good grades. So all like the good kids' parents were, anti-Vic because I was probably selling their kids pot or partying with them at a house party.
How did like that from being the most likely to fail, like you shared that, and then you also spoken about personal challenges like depression, financial stability. How does all that come together in your method, the TRIS method?
Yeah, so actually today we did a training for 2025 for our clients, and I call it cracking the code.
Mm-hmm.
And like I talk a lot about influence and psychology, and you have to have the right frameworks, scripts, frameworks, right, to get people to move forward. Sales is an inside game, right? Doing a podcast, it's an inside game. You may or may not feel like being on this right now. I don't know. I didn't ask, but you may or may not feel like doing the research on me. I don't know. I didn't ask, right? It's a lot of work. People don't realize it. We call it cracking the code because we talked about like how so many of us live in shame, and then that shame drives us to feel insecure and inadequate and behind our peers when 70% of this industry feels the exact same way. 20% feel a little bit better, and 10% are actually doing well. And out of that 10%, 80% feel shame, 20% are doing okay, and 10% are taking all of the money. Even if you break down sections of success, there's still people in that upper realm that you're like, I wish I was there, that feel like they're doing poor performance, and they wish they were somewhere else. And so we call it cracking the code, because if your mind isn't right, you can have all the skills in the world, but if you're depressed, you're burnt out, you're feeling alone, you're unconfident, you're not going to be able to sell anything to anybody, because your emotional state is what drives your outer state. Now you can fake it and you can get some success, don't get me wrong, but to have that ultra high performance level that I think most salespeople, realtors want, you got to come correct. You got to have like your energy's got to be right, your attitude's got to be right, your ability to focus on the person in front of you has to be right, the listening component that nobody talks about, being present, right, with your prospect, being a moral authority person, right? Like what a moral authority is a person who's concerned about the well-being of their prospect more than they are about a paycheck. It's very difficult when you're like broke. The forums are saying, be a listing agent. Don't worry about buyers. Buyers are liars. They're tire kickers. Well, that's not true because 50% of the market is buyers.
Right.
The reason why we accelerated so fast is because we focused so heavily in the beginning on buyers that we knew we're going to step up in 3 to 4 years to that long-term kind of dream house. And if we stayed in contact with them, they would hopefully call us at a higher percentage than they called somebody else. So if we mastered our craft and we did great buyer presentations, great consultations, just like a Cutco presentation, people would refer us after a short period of time. And that's exactly what happened. And so we call it cracking the code. I call it cracking the code because it's psychology, it's emotions, it's skill, it's mindset, it's what you feed your brain, right? One of our, I always believe in having a coach, right? For multiple different things, life coach, business coach, sales coach, right? Other people that are doing things that are their focus only so that you get a higher level of growth. And our coach today said, if you squeeze an orange, what do you get?
Orange juice.
But if you wanted apple juice, you'd need to squeeze an apple. But if all you consume is oranges and somebody squeezes you and they wanted apple juice, you can never get what you don't put in. What are you reading, right? What are you watching on YouTube or Instagram and podcasts? The news, it's not news, it's media. They're not news companies, they're media companies. But we call it news because back in the day, they used to be journalists. Now they're just reading off of a paper. They're not there to get you engaged. They're there to clickbait you, to get more people to watch for a longer period of time and so that their ratings go up so they get more sponsorship dollars. It's all about attention. So if you don't put good in, how do you get good out, right? If you don't have your time blocks and your schedule built, how do you know what's productive? If you're not tracking a certain number of KPIs on a daily basis, right, leading indicators, then the lagging indicators are going to be lower than what you want. So if you're not prospecting daily, if you're not doing some sort of outbound programs, if you're not doing some sort of contact program, right? I don't care if you call people that are online leads. I don't care if you call open house leads, but you need to have more people than the people you know. Because eventually the people you know get tired of you calling, right? So all these programs are like, work on your sphere, work on your sphere. Those people get tired of you. Mm-hmm. If you're really good, you get 15 to 20%, but they also have to be in the mode to move. It's not like buying a cell phone. Everybody needs one. Nobody needs to move, right? So if we're not able to get people to emotionally connect with themselves, right? Taking silence time, meditation, right? Going out on a hike, disconnecting from the world, detoxing from your cell phone, allowing people. How many realtors have you heard the voicemail of that says something like this? Hey, I'm sorry I missed your call. I'm either with a client or showing homes.
Yeah.
Have you looked them up to see what their stats are on Zillow?
I recently learned how that's number one thing you should do when you talk to realtors is look at their track record. And if they're new, you should know that up front.
Bro, I looked these people up, right? Imagine the anxiety that you have to leave a voicemail that says that I'm always working. Your voicemail says that I am 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, available and working. Dude, I don't want that kind of person in my life. That's gonna be a stressed out, anxious human being. I want a person that's like, yo, I work certain hours, because now I know that if they don't call me back tomorrow at 9:45 and they get in at 8:30, that they're probably not the person I wanna work with. Hey, right. I get in between, like if you wanna leave a voicemail that talks about your hours, build the life you want, not the life you think you need to have. Those people do 2, 3, 4 deals on average, and they have a high level of anxiety because they think that the value they add to the world is the time they're available to show houses. That's called Redfin. And if you haven't looked at Redfin stock, it's down something like 40 or 50, 60% since a couple of years ago when all the other stocks in real estate have gone up. Why? Because Redfin has no value. Just like you saying your only value is availability 24/7, dude, nothing's open 24/7.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I think that one's a big red flag. And I like how you've positioned it that if you're not valuing, it's not even valuing yourself. If you're available 24/7, like you said, it's like a red fin. And another thing that I find odd is when someone says, I don't do this for the commission. You know, and you're like, what, you just told me why you do it. And so you say, if I'm busy doing, it's like the opposite, really. And from this method, and I really like how you're talking about making better humans, perhaps, or better inside to be able to achieve a higher level of success. How do you, what tips can you give us, or how do you start your program?
Yeah, man. Thank you for allowing me to share a little bit. So TRIS stands for Trust, Rapport, Influence Sales Method. So what's the first thing that we need that we're told inside of sales? People have to know you, like you, and trust you. Well, if we really think about it, how does somebody get to know you, like you, and trust you? It's actually reversed. They need to trust you, then they need to like you, and then they're going to want to get to know you. But how do we then build trust? It's an interesting question. So how do we build trust? Do we come in and say, hey, my name's Vikram Deol. I did $250 million in sales. I'm the #1 real estate agent in Bellevue, Washington, and I'm here to be a trusted advisor and help you with all of your goals and dreams, and I treat you like family. It's one way to do it, status, right? But what if you don't have that kind of a sales track record, right? Well, if you go to Zillow and you read a realtor's profile, they say they're a trusted advisor. They say we want to make everybody like family. They say they have the best processes. They say they're with the #1 company, the #1 team, the #1 this. Well, if everybody's the same, it's really easy to stand out if you just slow down and think. But how do we then build trust? Okay, well, let's go back to when I was in 4th grade. If I said I want a Sega Genesis, people would probably say, well, do you need a Sega Genesis? And I'd probably say, no, I don't need one, but I'd like one because I think it'd make me have more friends. And I'd say, okay, well, you're a loser, go away. That's probably not going to work. But if I shared a goal and I aligned that goal with their goals, because people that live in nice houses have education, so they probably value education. They think that being cutting edge is good. Schools having good ratings is good for home values, right? Like, I didn't know any of this stuff then, but good schools is good for the community, is what we were told. So if I can align that with them, now we're in a conversation. So in sales, how do we build trust? Well, we call it the overarching goal, right? So inside of a conversation with the prospect, the first thing that I want to figure out is, Ahmed, why are you looking to move? Like, what's causing you to want to look at homes in the Sheridan neighborhood versus where you're currently at? And here's the kicker, bro, because here's what typically most agents do. Well, I love Sheridan because the schools are great. Oh, the schools are awesome. They're level 10. They're fantastic. They're rated by the blah, 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 blah. This neighborhood's great. I have a ton of clients here. I've been doing business here. I sell so many houses here. And the prospect goes from starting to get emotional to becoming super logical. Well, do people make big decisions off of emotions or logic? Nobody needs the iPhone 16 or whatever number is out right now. They feel like it would help them.
Right.
They feel a status by having it. It makes them feel a certain way. Then they just, well, it's got the charging cables and I don't have to carry the second charging cable. My life would be so much easier with the car. And oh, my husband's got an Android and we could share a cable. So your whole life for a $2,000 phone is because of a cable. No, you want the fucking iPhone, but you're justifying it with logic.
Yeah, you rationalize it with emotion, correct.
So instead of going into that, we want to do what's called probing and clarifying. So tell me a little bit more, like, why do you need more space? Well, I got 2 kids. The average agent's going to go, oh, definitely, you need more space. We have 4 bedrooms and 5 bedrooms. How much space do you want? A TRIS agent is going to say, what do you need the space for? And you're going to say, well, I have 2 kids. I'm currently living in a 2-bedroom apartment. They don't have a backyard. I have a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old. They're sharing a bedroom. I have a boy and a girl. The boy's starting to like become more boyish. The girl kind of wants her like princessy stuff. They're clashing, right? They need separation. We weren't supposed to be in the apartment for this long, but we thought the market was going to crash. It clearly didn't. And now we're trying to figure out if we can even afford a house. Oh, and how long have you guys been thinking about this for? Oh my gosh, we've been thinking about it for 3 years, but we got serious 6 months ago. What happened 6 months ago? My daughter came home, my son was in the room, he had locked the door, I was on a Zoom call. She's sitting in the hallway crying. He's laughing, playing with his buddies. They opened the door. They tore up all of her stuff. She was an emotional wreck. My wife was out with her friends. By the time I got there, she was 4 hours of a mental breakdown. Pretty sure we're going to need a therapist for her because of this, right? Like, is that often, or is that happening more often now, Ahmed? Oh my God, Vic, yes. How often is that happening? Once a week, and you're working from home, taking care of the kids, and they're arguing and melting down? Oh yeah. And now the girl's becoming a smart ass because of the son. So now she's starting to get smart, which I'd love to see, but I would love to see it at 5:45, not at 4:30 when I'm doing my last meeting.
Right.
And what's the effect that this is having on you? Wow. So is this something that you guys feel you need to change now, or is this something that you think you might want to like just kick down the road till the end of the summer when the kids are out? No. We will take the kids out of school. We're looking in the Sheridan neighborhood. We want to go to the Triz schools. We want this, and this. Okay, well, hey, let's do this. The average agent's going to say, I'll put you on a drip. If you see a home you like, call me and let me send you to my lender. And then they hope and pray the lender is going to do their job, which they weren't trained on what to do. And now the whole process is broken. Buyers are liars. These online leads suck. Our company sells leads. In my life, I've never sold a lead package to anybody. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much it costs. If you said, hey, Vic, we need leads, I'd be like, cool, talk to somebody else in our company. I wrote the script. I don't know how much it costs. I think we had a price increase last month. I don't even know what it is. Why? Because 90% of the people we speak to, because we call review and we listen to the calls, we listen to the transfers, we listen to what the agents say, we'll put you on a drip, we'll send you to our lender. Now the lender has to do the job of the agent, which is educate the prospect. The reason why agents don't do that is because they don't know how to do a buyer consultation because they were never taught how to present properly. Mm-hmm. So what we do is we slow the process down. We teach you the ultimate appointment booking formula. Ahmed, when you get on the phone, it's super simple. You're going to ask a series of 6 questions. Based off of what they say, you're going to either ask this 6 or this 6. Super simple. Can you do that? Yes. Awesome. We're going to teach you what's called the game plan frame. Ahmed, it sounds like what we do over here might potentially benefit you. I'm not even sure like what your guys' timeline is. It sounds like you guys are, kind of just starting out, right? Yeah, we're just starting out. Do you think it might be beneficial? I mean, like if you're not opposed as a possible next step, if we put some time aside on our calendars, kind of create a game plan so that when you guys are ready to make that move and get your daughter her own room, now we insert the pain, get your daughter her own room so your son can now stop bullying her and you can have an office for your Zoom calls. Like you guys know what to expect in this current market. Would that be helpful if we could do that? Oh my God, yes, please. Okay. Let me pull up my calendar here. What typically works better for you? Are you more like mid-afternoons or early evening type of people with your kids and work? No, it's gotta be around 5 or 7. Okay, I got some time today, actually, or tomorrow, right? Quick bookings. Not I got some time in, 2028.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right away. No, today and tomorrow won't work. Okay, do you got your, I started following a new guy, one of our coaches, he's from London, he used the word diary. Oh, do you have your diary ready? Oh, I do. Like, it just sounds sophisticated, right? And so I started using the word diary. People love it. Like, do you have your diary handy? Oh, I do. What's available for you this week? Not what's available for you. What's available for you this week? Could you do Thursday? Thursday I can't do 7. I got my daughter's recital. Can't miss that. That's what I do all this for. But I could do a 5:45 if you guys could squeeze me in. Done deal, brother. You sound like a guy that I want to be with. You value your family, right? I don't say bro, they don't even know my name. Wait, what's your name again? Oh, I apologize. I don't even know if I said it. No, I think you said it. I just didn't get it. Vikram. You know why they don't care about my name? It's because my name's not relevant. My company's not relevant until I became relevant into the conversation where they wanted to meet me.
Yeah.
They don't know anything about you.
I love it that you basically gave us a free course now of how to do this. It's really incredible how to build rapport, right? It's like it's how to build feel like that person is really understanding the needs, the wants, the desires, the pains, to be able to be effective. And you talk a lot about these like modern techniques. Can you talk more about like what do you do in like the digital world, or now that you compete with thousands of people online and offline?
How do you mean by that?
Like the today you don't only live from the open house leads, what you mentioned at the beginning. You don't live from the leads that you get. You have to also communicate with people online, digitally, through maybe at scale.
So are you talking about like how to build a social profile? Or are you talking about how to talk to people in the DMs?
No, build a social profile and to build rapport, like you just mentioned, but at
So
scale.
social is not my forte. Like we put out a lot of content. You need a strategy behind your content. Like we put out great content. Like this is one is what I gave you was easy for me to do because I've done it since 2005, right? We didn't have the cool names for it, but we had these frameworks and processes. Maybe even when I was doing Cutco, I'd have to really think about it. I've done it 50,000 times. The average person comes in, they're not going to, you could watch this podcast 20 times, but like, you don't know if you've changed one word that I gave you that then changed the whole meaning of the thing. So like what a lot of agents say is, hey, so what we can do is like, so it sounds like you're ready to buy a home now. So why don't we put some time aside on our calendars where I can walk you through exactly what I'm going to do to help you buy that home this month. And the prospect's like, whoosh, red flag, right? And you took somebody from hot and heavy, right? It's kind of like dating. You got the girl at the bar, she's digging you, she's giving you the eye contact, she's twirling her hair, she's touching your shoulder, and then you're like, yeah, why don't we go back to my place and shebang? And she's like, whoa, I don't think so. It's the same thing that salespeople do is they get the person on the like hot and heavy. You've been having drinks with this person. You guys are vibing, right? You're asking all the right questions to get to know the person. And then you hit them with an answer that's too fast. Hey, let's go do X, Y, and Z. And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're talking about next steps way too quick. And so you need a feedback loop. So one of our components, one of our pillars of our program is our feedback loop, where I personally right now coach our clients in a group session to give them feedback on what they're saying or not asking. Right? On scale, you need a strategy though. What are your 3 pillars that you're trying to cover? Like I'm more, the social media stuff, I would be doing you honestly a disservice on it. We just put out content and then I have a content team that throws it out there, and right now we're trying to build more strategy around it. So I would be doing you a disservice, but I can talk to you a lot about sales, right?
Love it.
Because like I'm not going to tell you something just to sound cool.
No, of course.
That would be a disservice.
I appreciate that. Let's go look more towards the future, as I'm sure you're constantly thinking, like when you started to today, things have evolved, things are changing.
Super fast.
And the real estate market either thrives and changes, and sometimes now it's like last year was depressed, and I think it's sort of like a new normal. Is real estate going to be stability? And like you said, now you have 40% of transactions. It means that agents need to be sharper. So what do you think are skills that agents need to thrive in the next few years?
The funny thing is that people say this is a people business and a relationship-based business. Now I get it. There's people who have never actually picked up a phone to communicate with their friends. Everything they do is text message. Now, I live in South America. People still send WhatsApp voice memos all the time. So they're still communicating through voice, right? Even though they can type out a message, they communicate through voice because here the expression has a lot to do with the meaning, your tonality, right? Your pace, how you're delivering, the conversation type. I call it the TPC model, tone, pace, conversation. It's very important in the Spanish language that you can emphasize who you are through your tone. And we know here where I live, if you have a certain accent and you're from this part of the country, this part, and it's very well distinguished, kind of like in the US as well. A New Yorker, somebody from Cali, hey, I'm just like, oh my God, right? We know somebody from the Midwest, we know Texans, they have a distinct accent. But there are people in the US that have never picked up their phone, Canada as well, in their 20s, and that has become the norm because they have trained their parents to text. Well, if everything is done through a digital form of communication, and Redfin will go and open the door for you and write an offer, not win an offer and strategize, but write an offer. Now there are some good Redfin agents out there, and I'm not going to tear down everybody, but most of them are order takers. hey, we want to offer $488,000. Well, the house is listed at 510. There's 6 offers. What do you think we should do? You should probably go higher than that. Okay, we'll come in at 510. Well, the house sold for 590. Like, you weren't even in the running, right? That's like a lot of agents as well, not just that one company, but I hate Redfin. So what do we do to distinguish ourselves? Well, we allow ourselves to be human, right? Vulnerability and courage, which is one of the components we talked about today in our class, is really important to being a normal human. So when you're courageous and you're vulnerable and you're willing to get yourself out of your comfort zone and have real conversations with people who are buying and selling real estate, which is a very complex transaction. Most humans, it will be their most complex transaction, the most risk, the highest dollar value, and the most things that can go wrong because, man, dude, things break in houses every day. And some of those things like are very expensive. And if you put anywhere from 3.5% to 50% down or 100% down, and then you have a big major repair in the home that's $20,000 and you're not prepared, you are in some really anxious moments with your finances. And so what do we do to make ourselves different than the AI bot? We learn how to have great conversations. In 2020 was all about conversion happens in conversation. But in 2024, 2023, it shifted to conversion happens in great conversations. And it's the same exact thing as it is right now. Conversion doesn't happen in me and Ahmed talking together. Conversion happens because I put down my attachment to a commission check and I said, yo, bro, tell me what is actually important in your world about buying or selling a house. Why is that important? What are the ramifications of you not taking actions? Can we talk about a different next step? Can we build a game plan, like a calendar of events, so that when I call you back 90 days, we're on track to hitting your goals of being in Nantucket by September so that you can X, Y, and Z. Oh my God, Vikram, that'd be great. And the more comfortable you get asking a few difficult questions, right, they're really not that difficult. The easier it is to show people. Because if I tell you that now's the best time to buy because I believe the rates are gonna go up or the market's gonna go up in price and rates are gonna go down, you may not believe that to be true, and so you stall on taking action. Yeah. But if I say to you, hey Ahmed, man, it might be good for you to wait. I don't really know, but like before I let you go, can I just ask you like a couple of quick questions? And if you notice my tonality shifts, my body language shifts, right? I even take off this bracelet because it makes a clicking sound and I don't want that clicking sound. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So, and I also like to fidget when I'm on the phone. So like sometimes I'll use it so that you can hear it and sometimes I'll use it not because I want to do some pattern interrupts in the brain so it doesn't sound like everybody else. I don't want it to sound like a call center though. So hey man, would it like, and it might make sense for you guys to wait another 2 or 3 years, but can I ask a couple questions? What happened since 2021 to the real estate market?
Yeah. I see your point and I really value, and I think the people that are going to listen to this are really going to value the humanization, you know, the being more human, perhaps having deeper connections with people by regurgitating knowledge that everybody else is doing. That I've had people call me and say, you should buy right now, and then they tell me like 35% of movers are people that are moving from one state to another, and you're like, you know, I didn't even say hello yet and you're already like vomiting information on me. It just puts you off and you say, hey, you don't even know what I'm looking for.
Right.
So what you're doing and what you're showing is how to be a better listener, how to build that rapport, how to have a little bit more of a human conversation, and that even that tone of voice, which I think is very intentional, to opening up the other person, to be like, hey, let's just have an off the record conversation. Let me learn about you. Let me learn about what you think, and let me show you how I can help you. Perhaps is that fair?
100%, man. Like you're nailing it. And the other, like one of the big things, if you really want to differentiate yourself, like think about what they teach you in real estate school at a traditional company, right? Traditional sales training company. You need to have 20 conversations a day. So I need to have 100 conversations a week. I need to have 400 conversations a month. I need to do open houses. I need to do this. I need to do. Why? How many homes do you want to sell? How many homes do you need to sell? Well, I need to sell 2 to 3 homes a month, right? The average solo agent, their life dramatically changes at 2 to 3 houses. Like even for a lot of agents, 1 deal a month, their life dramatically changes. 2 is doubling your income. If you're at 2 and you go from 3, right? My math isn't that great, but that's a 66% increase in income or some shit like that. So like 1 extra deal a month dramatically increases income on a realtor. But most are doing less than 1 a quarter. Good agents are doing 1 every couple of quarters, right? Like what's going on here? Like what's happening in the world? Well, the problem is that we're told to do so much work to have so little results. So if you're looking to sell 2 houses, right, 3 houses a month as a solo, teams are different, right? Teams we could get into if we had more time. You're being told that you need 397 pieces of rejection a month.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds incredibly painful. Like I am not going to do that. Rejection is not you personally. Rejection comes because of your lack of ability to communicate what you do effectively. I'm not rejecting you, Sal. John, I'm not rejecting you. I'm rejecting the shit you said to me that sounds like every fucking other person. And so I'm not rejecting you as a person. I'm rejecting what you're saying because it sounds like everybody else. So what I think is that if you can become better at monitoring, tracking, and figuring out how to have a trust-based opener, overarching goal, probe and clarify, game plan frame, and an appointment booking formula, right? It's a 5-step formula. You will get in front of more people. Once you're in front of more people, you will have more at-bats. Now we can fix your conversion rate when you're in front of people. And really at the end of the day, like our clients are doing 3 to 5 conversations a day. They're booking in 1 appointment, right? They're going on 3 to 5 appointments a week. They're doing 15 to 20 appointments a month after a few months. It's not going to happen overnight. Right. But now all of a sudden you went from 0 appointments in the last 3 months, 10 appointments. And these people actually want to talk to you. And then you learn the 7-figure buyer appointment, the 7-figure listing appointment, and you go from a 10% conversion rate where it's like, hey, we just need to talk to a couple people. We'll get back to you next week. And the agent, because they weren't trained on the right formula, how to disarm them, how to isolate the objection and how to solve it correctly, they just start spewing stuff back, or they say, hey, no worries, I'll talk to you next week. They don't book in another appointment. They don't know how to calendar close. And because they don't have a process, they have a 5, 10, 15, 20% conversion ratio, which is called laydown sales. And so then you have to have hundreds of appointments, which is really good for Zillow and Realtor.com and marketing companies.
Right.
But you don't need that much. You need 3 to 5 appointment conversations, 1 appointment a day, 3 to 5 a week. Bro, you're...
Yeah.
All you need to do is find 1 person a week, and then you build a pipeline, and now you're getting 2, 3, 4 deals every single month because of it.
And when you have those deep conversations, those incredible connections, that 3 to 5 is really, you're talking to not only them, but to their network. So those guys are going to talk to 10 people, be like, hey, I have the best realtor. You have to work with this person. And then they come to you. So it's sort of like the smarter way to leverage, because that one worked to your favor in multiple ways. Whereas if you talk to 100 guys, they're like, I talked to this guy, they didn't even listen to me, so I don't want to talk. But you did touch a point which is important, which is what's, how on the face of a rejection, fear, failure, people are selling 1 house a quarter, maybe in a few quarters. What's your advice on them building resilience and staying motivated?
It's not you personally, it's what you're saying. But it's not you as a human. I've met very few realtors. Realtors get a really bad rep, but I've met very few realtors in a one-on-one setting that are not good people. They might come across as flashy. They might come across as this and that, right? They might come across as salesy, right? They might be super annoying because they haven't been taught what to say. But I haven't met very many on a one-on-one basis where you sit them down, it's just the 2 of you, that aren't really cool, good people. Like you might have to break through some of the flash because they're trying to sell you a house, like while you're sitting down and talking to them, because they think every conversation is prospecting. It's not true. But once you get through that layer of kind of like the facade that real estate thinks they need to have, like I don't talk about GCI with my clients, right? I don't care what their GCI is. I care that they're hitting their goals and they're progressing forward towards their goals. Now we talk about money, but I talk about net commission. Like how much did you keep? Oh, you spent $6,000 on leads last month? So did you have a $12,000 to $24,000 return on them? No. How many did you close from them? Zero? Okay, wait, hold on. You spent 6,000, 2,000, 3,000. You get zero money come back from them? Stop that shit. Like, what is our highest level of production that gets us, like, a lot of people think they need 4 deals a month because they're spending so much money on nothing. And so when you sit down with people, like, realtors are genuinely good people. They want to help humans buy a house for a really noble reason. Maybe they had a shitty experience. Maybe they had a crappy agent. Maybe their parents never could buy a house. Maybe the first time they bought a house, they cried and they want to feel that experience. It's like the crack. They want to feel that again and again and again and again and again. They're good people. You just got to get through the facade. So somebody who's struggling and who's feeling rejection, it's because what you were trained on, or maybe you weren't trained on, you just got into it. It's not the right set of skills. And if you're not willing to invest in yourself in this industry or any industry, then you shouldn't do it. Right. Because how should somebody invest 20, 30, 40, 50, 10, $100,000 into your pocket if you're not willing to invest into yourself before you ask them to invest in you?
I like that. I think it's some people do say maybe it's me, maybe they don't want me or they don't like me, but it's nothing to do with you. It's really perfecting your craft, perfecting your speech, your presence. You don't have to wear the expensive suit or drive the nice car. That off-puts people sometimes more than it brings people in. Like,
I used to park the Range away from the office and away from the front door, because people in Seattle were like, "Man, you drive a nice car," and I was like, I do. I work hard, because then I have to justify it. I'm like, then I feel like I need to justify it. So I'd actually park down the street, like, "Hey, how'd you get here?" I'm like, "Oh, I like to walk the neighborhood to get a vibe." And they're like, "Oh, that's really cool." Right? So you have to figure out how to, like, use your improv, but, like, nobody wants somebody stinking like perfume and cologne with all the jingle and jangle.
No. And that's, I think, maybe the Netflix stuff that we see, that's how it's, like, maybe influencing us in the wrong way. I loved having you here, Vikram. It was really incredible. You gave so much knowledge. I would watch this and rewatch it, because you gave, like you said, one word can change the meaning, and it goes from hot and heavy to Arctic snow. So, and working with you, because I think there's a lot. You definitely are a master of your craft. I wanted to ask you one last question. If you could share, like, one piece of advice with a new agent or perhaps an entrepreneur that's starting out today, what would it be?
I mean, the selfish side of me says is learn sales skills, because that's what I've done my whole life. But that's not the real thing. It's forgive yourself for all the things in life, right? Like, just forgive yourself. Have the courage to be vulnerable and open and ask for help. Forgive yourself for not being as great as you think you are. Forgive yourself for listening to the industry that tells you that you have to be perfect, because the best humans are flawed humans, because we're the ones that actually feel shit, and we are the ones that can actually empathize with our people, right? Just remember the stuff you hear on forums and flashiness. Most of those people have the time to post there because they're not doing what you think they're doing. You're comparing yourself to something that's not real, which then just kind of drives you down. So, like, that love of self, right? Not in an egotistical way, but that love of self in a way of acceptance, allows you to slow down, ask for help, ask for the humility to become the person that you aspire to be one day.
Love it. I 100% agree. When at the starting point, so many people think they're here to demonstrate, and when they're actually there to learn. So if you understand that difference and that humility that you were saying, it's a very powerful advice for that starting point. Thank you again, Vikram, for being here. I really, really enjoyed it. I hope we can connect again in the future and see how far you've taken the system, and it was wonderful to learn from you.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.